Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Friday, and welcome to the Hoser Show with your hosts, Aidan, Bell, and Everest, Mandy. It's currently 45 seconds after 10 a.m. in the morning. Feeling pretty good this morning.
Yeah, we're a little late. This
Yeah.
is our premiere episode, so there might be a little bit of hiccups.
Yeah, but that's to be expected, right?
Oh, geez. We struggled with YouTube Live this morning, not letting us because our channel's too new. We're on Twitch this morning and spiritlive.ca. Everest, how are you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. Excited for this reading week. Really needed, honestly. It's been pretty busy. And you and I were talking about this the other day. This is like, I think third year is like the kind of trailblazing year where you really start to really come out of your shell in a lot of different ways and get much more involved on campus and a lot of different programs throughout the school. So like, I find like this year's been pretty good so far, but looking forward to this reading week. Honestly.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's been busy. I mean, I like it though. Got something to get me out of bed every morning, you know. I'm doing full days every day, you know, just come home. My home for the first time since starting Ryerson is literally just a place to pass out. So
Yeah, agreed.
But let's get more to the meat of the matter. This is our first episode of Hoser, and let's start off with our qualifications.
Okay.
So, but before we do that, I think it'd be important to define what exactly a hoser is.
Sure. How about you give your definition first, and I'll build on that.
Oh man, that's you and me, buddy.
Okay.
We're hosers.
Yeah.
But it's a Canadian, I guess.
Yeah. I'd say like a hoser would be a rural Canadian perspective and outlook on life. Growing up from a very country part of Canada, and like kind of contributing with a lot of experiences that kind of fall within a specific realm of outlooks on stuff, and just kind of the way you were raised out there, and just from a rural landscape perspective, I think that's a pretty good definition of what a hoser really is. That deck talk, that country outlook. Yeah.
Nice.
I'd say so. I'd say that you and I, we're a unique definition of hosers because Aidan and I both have grown up for many years of our lives on farms. Me specifically a ranch. I grew up on a ranch for 13 years, moved there from the city, from Ottawa, Ontario, when I was about 3 or 4 years old. Lived there for 13, 14 years, came back to high school, and that's where I met Aidan.
Yeah. And I was kind of the inverse. Like I grew up in the suburbs, you know, military family. And one day when I was in high school, my dad's like, we're moving to a farm. So we moved to a farm and we've got about 100 chickens, 2 cows, bees.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, Aidan saying that we're kind of inverse in that sense is because Aidan like immediately moved to the farm once he got to high school, so to speak, as I moved back to the city once I got to high school. So then again, if you read the description of our show, we both have that very perfect kind of contrasting livelihood and growing up, whereas Aidan would be at that farm and in that environment for later in his life, whereas I was for the early parts of my life. So we get to see kind of both ends of the spectrum in that way, which is really nice.
Yeah. And I guess the other idea for this show was that we both work at the same furniture company, and we would drive in the mornings and we go on deliveries and stuff together.
Yep.
And we'd just be chatting for the whole ride, and we're like, hey, this could be a Spirit Live.
Aidan and I have like a unique ability to drive 6 hours to Ottawa, Ontario, and find that we can fill conversation and fill that time pretty consecutively and consistently for 6 hours straight.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, why not, contribute that to some practice hours and to make a nice show.
Yeah. And absolutely send the FedEx truck in the back roads there.
Yeah, exactly. So Aidan and I's job, I'll explain my portion of my job and Aidan will do his own. But so basically, I was out of work for all of last summer. I waited too long into the school year to start looking for work because I was just really slammed with school and a lot of other stuff. And I was looking for work, couldn't find any in the city, and I messaged Aidan. I was like, hey, man, really needing some work this summer. Is there anything that you know of? People are looking to hire, anything like that? And he said, hey, man, boss at my work is looking to hire. I said, cool, great. So I went in for an interview. Was getting interviewed, if I'm not mistaken, for
Yeah, like an
assistant.
office admin,
Yeah,
kind of like more pick up the phones, that sort of thing.
exactly. And so after the interview finished, they realized that they didn't really want me for that position, but they kind of wanted me for a jack of all trades type of deal. Therefore, just making deliveries, answering phones sometimes making some sales here and there, but then just kind of all around being the showroom helper,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. Yeah.
I mean, there is a better term, but we're not allowed to say it on the
Yeah,
air.
not on the air.
Uh,
Yeah, but it's good. I love it. So basically, what my role consists of is delivering very high-end furniture, making deliveries, picking stuff up, cleaning around the showroom, just kind of making sure that nothing's going on
Yeah.
fire, and then putting any fires out that we have to.
yeah. I think in terms of my qualifications as a hoser, parents are both from Saskatchewan, rural Saskatchewan, population 4,000 or so. We moved to that farm out of nowhere. I got lots of little anecdotes that are very, corner gas. Like there was one time where a girl I liked was being dropped off. Her dad was driving a Jag. He had just come back from a business meeting, dropped her off at our farm. My dad's in the front yard in a wife beater and a pair of boxing shorts, and he's got a chainsaw in one hand and a 22 in the other, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Rob,"
Yeah.
Like it's just that sort of thing,
Yeah.
like people in Toronto don't really get that that's what it's like.
Well, I think another thing too is people don't understand like in relative to like Toronto's size and population, people don't really get the intimacy of interactions that you have when you're out there. Like everybody knows everybody by first name, pretty much. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's very close knit, but you get a lot of things that happen out there that really, really are not accustomed to this part of the city,
Yeah.
specifically. Like, and on that, like, let's talk. How about we talk about our brothers and our
Yeah.
family life? Yeah.
All
would you
right.
like to
No,
open?
I
Okay,
want
yeah.
you to start.
So I have a little brother, just one. He just turned 20. Which is
Holy crap.
fantastic.
Ethan's 20?
Yeah, 20.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, 20 or 19. Jeez. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's freaking time flies, man. Yeah, just turned 20, I believe. He's fantastic. So, him and I, growing up on the farm for majority of our childhood, we spent pretty much every waking minute together. And one difference that we had compared to all of our other friends that still lived in the city was being extremely involved in outdoors 24/7, knowing what a hard day's work is, getting life lessons that not a lot of kids our age would normally be getting. And the result of us being together for so long, so often, did result in a lot of trips to CHEO and to the hospital.
Yeah.
Because, you don't really have too much to do out there aside from do your work, get your chores done, and then just experiment with the outdoors. And a lot of times, the result can be injury, for sure.
Well, do you mind if I butt in here?
No, absolutely.
'Cause I remember Everest was hanging out with me and my roommates one day, and he was telling us a story about how him and his brother used to grab onto the electric fence outside the ranch
Yeah.
and see who could hold on the longest. And they'd also chain each other, see how long they could still feel stuff and stuff like
Yep.
that. And me and my roommates were just like, yeah, that explains a
That-
lot.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
hey, got some memory issues, but I don't think it's from the electrical charge. Probably more from sports. But this one time, though, specifically, we were at a horse show, and my brother and I were with a bunch of other friends and kids that we knew from the area, and we were playing that game with holding on to see who could hold on to the electrical fence the longest. And one of the kids that tried it had the intention of putting one hand on the wire and then putting his other hand on a metal pole that was sticking out of the ground.
So
it
that's
completed the
right
charge.
through the cardiac
exactly,
zone there.
Exactly. So he immediately, as soon as he touched the metal bar, he immediately tensed up, and he started saying, like, who the heck punched me? Who punched me? And he was lying on the ground, like, convulsing almost, because he said that it felt like a hole was blown through the center of his chest from this. And you have to realize, too, like, we were, like 10, 11 years old. So for a kid to go through something like that,
Yeah.
we didn't tell any parents. We didn't say anything to anyone. It was just kind of a walk it off type of deal. That's
Yeah.
another contribution of the hoser lifestyle, I'd say, as well.
Oh yeah, definitely like walk it off, like a number of times my dad's told me to suck it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So both of Aidan and I's parents, well, Aidan's father and my mother and father are all ex-military. My dad specifically within the Naval Reserve, and then my mom with grounds military. And Aidan, your dad.
Yeah, he was National Investigative Service, so essentially the military police, FBI of the military, sort of. And he worked his way up through there to the rank of colonel. But I mean, we lived in Alberta for a little while. He was all over the place. He was in Bosnia. He was in Israel. He was in Afghanistan a couple of times.
And this is something that we want to talk to you guys a lot about is our parents' military history and the experiences that we've had with them and regarding certain things like PTSD and a lot of other traumatic stresses that affect our parents specifically. But we want to make sure that we say what we're allowed to say and we don't overstep our boundaries.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
so that's
definitely.
something we'll have to make sure of in the future. But yeah, so on my front, my dad got out of the Navy as soon as I was born. He was more on the combat side of things, whereas my mom works specifically with rehabilitating ill and injured soldiers. And she works for the Royal Canadian Legion. She has been since she was about 16. And fun fact, before she started working with ill and injured soldiers, she was actually the first female infantry woman in a platoon of about 50 men, which is
Dang.
which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. So big shoes to to fill for my mom, big
Yeah.
time. Yeah, she's a pretty cool lady. Speaking of family, Thanksgiving weekend is coming up.
Yeah. I'm going back. I'm going back tomorrow.
What time you head out?
Head out at 2:20. I'm going first class because I bought my tickets nice and early.
Yes. Please explain to the listeners and to the audience what first class upgrade does for your Via Rail.
Oh, so normally I do the cheapest thing I possibly can, right? But I got my ticket. You're not even doing the program, man. You're doing the preview window.
Oh wow! What the heck? Okay, sorry guys.
No, there we go. So, yeah. What was I saying? So the first class upgrade. Normally I just get the cheapest thing that I possibly can, you know. But I had done it so early that first class was cheaper than regular would have been. So first class, I have no one sitting next to me. I'm in a row all by myself, which is amazing.
Fantastic.
So I'm both aisle and window, and I get a free alcoholic beverage and a free meal. So
That's fantastic. Are you one of those people that physically can't sit in an aisle or a window seat if they're facing the opposite way that the train is moving and get really sick? Are you one of those guys?
no, I'm fine with that. It's my mom that can't do that. So anytime I've come down to Toronto with her, we've had to move seats and stuff like that because they never tell you if you're gonna be backwards, you know.
Right. Yeah, I think that's something that they should start doing just because a lot of people that I talk to really physically can't stomach it at all.
Well, I think it's hard to know.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's kind of like a day of decision. It just depends on which way the train car is pointing when they leave Montreal or whatever, you know?
Right. Yeah, the turnaround. Yeah, Via Rail is actually okay. Via Rail is a very, very good mode of transportation and also a catalyst for great studying. I find every time on the Via Rail, I can get fantastic amounts of studying done
On the Via Rail?
on the Via Rail.
Grandma?
Yeah, on the Via Rail. I'm on the internet, the interwebs. No, but seriously, anytime that, and I find you always have to take the Via Rail before or after reading week and after reading week usually, so you get a lot of studying done during those times. So it's great to kind of, you get to go home. A lot of teachers want you to study over reading week, but you only really have to study for those few hours on the train, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any exams this week?
No. Do you?
I have one. I have one today, actually.
You have one
2 to
today.
4, sociology of
That
sport.
explains why we're not prepared.
It's going to be great. Yeah. Hey, no, we're prepared enough.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, in terms of qualifications, why don't we discuss our personal qualifications, actual
Sure.
paper qualifications that we have that enable us to do things and work in certain jobs that most people could not work in.
Okay. Well, I guess in pertinence to being a hoser or a Canadian gopnik, or is that a term that I'm
Gopnik?
allowed to use?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like enough people won't know what it means either.
Yeah, it's just like Life of Boris YouTube videos, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I guess like my family life, really led up to it, the whole farm thing. But I also worked construction for 2 summers with a French Canadian guy, and that was wild. That was like the most Canadian experience of my life. There were a few times he had bought a plot of land in Quebec to build a cottage on a lakefront, and he paid me to come up there for a few weekends to work on stuff. So one day we were just clearing out brush, cutting down trees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And another day we were building the outhouse. So both times he'd show up with a 24 pack of Coors, and between the two of us, we'd put it all away. And like, this is like really, like not safe. We're handling
Yeah.
chainsaws.
Yeah,
and,
that's what. Like,
no one was
what specifically?
no one was
kind of work were you
driving or
doing?
anything like that. But it was
Right.
like, power tools, and like we were building an outhouse, so we had a nail gun.
No operation of heavy machinery.
Yeah, no operation of heavy machinery. I mean, unless you count a chainsaw as heavy. That's also like I'd say that's almost worse than driving.
Yeah.
But, he was doing that, not me. I'm amazed that I still have all my limbs, to be honest. And we were like 3 hours from the nearest hospital. Man, that was really
Jeez,
stupid.
yeah.
But I made pretty good money doing that, and I
Right.
got to be hammered.
How was the quality of your work?
Like what we ended up with.
Yeah.
Well, it was for him, right? So he didn't care. Like
Right.
when it was mostly doing kitchens and bathroom renovations and stuff like that. So he took it very seriously when it was for a client. Like this person is paying a lot of money; they want it to be perfect, and
Yeah.
like we were very respectful. We always cleaned up everything afterwards. Like I've never had like a contractor experience that was as good as like working with him. Like even when we've hired people to do stuff either at work or at home.
Right.
But when it comes to stuff for his like personal life, he's just like, as long as it works,
Yeah. Well, and also too,
Like
like,
the outhouse looked like the one from the beginning of Shrek. Like it was.
did you carve the moon into it?
I think he planned on it.
Did he
Yeah,
actually?
He had to bring his Dremel up, but
Oh, gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah. And it was just like mainly you two, right? Working for all that time?
Oh yeah, like he had a couple of French Canadian buddies that would come up. It'd be funny, like it'd be like 4 p.m. on a Friday, and he's like, "We're not gonna finish this like by quitting time or whatever,
Yeah.
like 6 p.m." So he'd get on the phone and he'd call his French Canadian buddies, and like 12 guys would roll up in 2 lower Dodge Ram 1500s from 1997,
Yeah.
with the dubstep blasting. And there was one guy that worked for him that just sucked, just terrible work. His name was Chubba.
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 Sounds like a Star Wars character.
Yeah, he was a little bit of a Star Wars character.
Yeah.
But there's another guy named Serge that worked for him. And Serge had a mustache, and he was this like obese 60-year-old, like old dude, this crazy handlebar mustache.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the times that he called all those guys to come help us. We were just moving garbage into a shipping container, right, from this rich guy's backyard, because we had torn out a deck or something like that. And
Yeah.
he was having a party that night. Like it had to be out of there that night. So we call these guys, and this guy, well, we're all like hauling like huge, 4x4 planks of wood and stuff like that. He's just standing around watching us work, being like, "Put that over there," and like, "Yeah, we know the garbage goes in the shipping container, sirs," And he'd like pick up one piece of plywood. And he's like, "Look, I'm helping," and he'd throw it in.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Like, why did you come? Like, why didn't you just go to Timmy's?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get everybody some coffee.
Yeah,
Help out,
exactly.
man. Help out in a real way.
Oh man, that was brutal.
Yeah. How are the customers that you guys worked for?
Some of them were really chill. Like there was one guy, he had one leg. He got into a car accident and used the settlement money to he invested it smart, ended up making absolute bank.
Whoa.
And he drives an Audi R8 now. His license plate on the Audi R8 is peg one leg. But he is like the sweetest guy ever. Like you show up at his place and he's joking with you, and he's like, "Oh, I just got a guitar that's signed by Paul McCartney. Come take a look."
That's amazing.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he did one thing that was kind of wild for his stepkids. This was during the year, so I was at school in Toronto, not in Ottawa, working for this guy, but they filled me in on what had happened.
Yeah.
He put a a fish tank as the wall between two of his kids' rooms. So he built an addition on top of the garage, and he got a crane and used the crane to put this massive aquarium in between the two bedrooms.
Holy, what happens when they start hitting puberty and they can see
Yeah,
into
they
each
want some
other's rooms?
privacy.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's what I
right.
was thinking. The one kid was 14, the other one was like 9. Like that's not the
That's kind of a
Yeah.
weird spacing of age for
Yeah.
for that. Man.
But it's also just like the fish guy needs to come in twice a week and keep the fish alive, you know.
Right. So it's like it's a completely like kind of sealed like tank in between.
Yeah, like you can't get that out of there without knocking off that addition.
Wow.
Like it's there's cupboards underneath and cupboards above, and the cupboards
Yeah.
above aren't real cupboards. It's just so you can like get your hands in to like take care of stuff.
Gotcha.
But it goes from wall to wall, and it's probably like I'd say a good half of the height of the wall, but like there's like a quarter underneath and a quarter above.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like people that are able to afford that kind of like building within their house to like just to be able to say that you have a fully functional fish tank, like an actual aquarium fish tank in your house, like pretty much built into its own wall,
Yeah.
is
That
impressive.
guy
as
had
hell.
more than that too, though, because he had one on his entranceway.
Yeah,
You know.
it's nuts, man.
Yeah. But okay, I guess more to the point of our story is that, that experience was very hoser,
Yes.
working
Yeah.
for that guy.
Experiences that I find make me relate back to my hoser base level instincts is
Yeah.
I find the customers that we deal with at our work. So Aidan and I, as we said before, work for a very high-end furniture company, and Aidan comes with me. Aidan does a lot of the web design and technical aspects of the job itself, whereas I do more of the hands-on stuff and delivering the actual furniture. But Aidan comes with me on a lot of these deliveries because a lot of the time stuff is really heavy, and I need a second guy.
It's a pretty small company, so
Yeah, small family-run business, but so majority of times when we go to these customers' houses, we get to interact with people that are extremely rich, and a lot of the times this is the biggest factor that I find contributes to how they is they are born into money. A lot of our customers
Yeah.
parents made
preach, sister.
Yes,
Yeah.
I shall. And it's just very frustrating because you walk in to these houses to deliver this furniture and you set it up, and the expectation is always risen every single time you finish a specific job. They always want you to do more and more and more beyond the level of what they paid for. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's one thing to be said with great customer service and giving the customer what they want and
Yeah.
going that little extra step. But then there's a difference between that one step and then 10 extra steps. You know what I mean?
Well, and the other thing too is that we're not being paid any more than like a Home Depot employee. You know, you can get outdoor furniture at Home Depot, and the guy will come and set it up for you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we need to do something like that. We need to have like a better basis of.
But I just remember one time we went, and the lady had us move like a probably 500-pound fire pit.
Yeah.
Like look at me. You can see me on Twitch. I'm like, this is. I had to move that fire pit. Like that was not going to happen. But she had us move it like several inches, like probably
Yeah.
10 or 12 times.
And
you
it
know?
was in the rain.
And
if
it was
I
in the
might, If I
rain.
might add, it was in the rain.
I don't even
and
think we went there to move it. We went to move there on
to
umbrella.
move an umbrella.
And she talked us in. Or there even was that time where we had to rent a U-Haul truck. So they sent us in the company van to rent a U-Haul to haul all this crap up to Ottawa.
Yep.
And the U-Haul truck had to be back the same day. So we were driving to Ottawa, doing 2 deliveries, and then driving back. And
It was due back at 8 a.m. the next morning,
Yeah.
and we left on the Saturday morning. We left on the Friday evening. I believe
no,
it
we
was.
left.
Was it?
We left Saturday morning.
And it was
we
back-
left Friday morning.
Yeah.
We were back Friday night. It was due back Saturday morning.
Right.
That's what it was.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, but the guy, like, we were just supposed to drop off. He had probably, 10 planters, 10 chairs. We were supposed to drop it off. And
Just in the boxes,
just
by the
in
way,
the
folks.
boxes
Just
in his
leave it in the
front yard.
boxes on the front yard. Quick drop off.
he ended
nothing
up
else.
having us haul it up to the 5th floor patio.
5 flights of stairs, multiple boxes,
Yeah.
and it was hot as heck.
Yeah.
It was terrible. It was in the middle of the summer. We were sweating like crazy. And that's another thing too. When you start sweating, moving that expensive Italian Fondant furniture, it's
Yeah.
all cases and plastic, right? So you start sweating and it's dropping out of your hands. It's friggin' impossible to lift after you've worked to a point of sweating. It was ridiculous. And usually, I think the price for delivery and for setup like that is something like 300 to 500 or something like that.
Yeah, something
And
like that.
he didn't pay a penny of that, and we
No.
still did it all because we are fantastic employees and we want to make the customer happy. But then the second order after that, we drove all the way to this guy's house to deliver what
It was
a
like
day
outside
bed.
Kingston. They said Ottawa, but it ended up
Yeah,
being Kingston.
yeah. They gave us the complete wrong address. Had to drive it over. What time did we get there? Like super late at
Like
night.
10 p.m., 11 p.m., something
Yeah,
like that.
and we wanted to be there by about like 9ish.
Yeah.
So after backtracking, we get to this guy's place, and he's asleep. So I'm texting this random guy as he's half asleep in bed, like we're already mates, and it's chill and whatnot, but absolutely not. We get there, and it's I believe his grandmother that answers the door, and originally, thank God for her, because originally the guy that we were dealing with wanted us to bring down this heavy furniture all the way down an extremely, extremely steep hill, and then
Yeah.
bring it to his dock. And I saw the thing, and the woman told me too. She said there's no way in heck that you could physically walk down there with that size of a piece.
Yeah.
You had to bring a truck down. So we just left it in the garage. Thank God for her. She saved us that day.
Yeah,
Definitely.
for real. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Then drive back to Toronto that night.
Oh,
Drop
we
the
were
van off.
sending it in that U-Haul.
Oh
That's what
my
I was saying
gosh.
earlier. We were
Yeah.
like, it's like Mach 9. I'm
Yeah.
surprised it could go that quick.
Yeah. One thing too that was surprising about that is it was pretty easy to drive.
Yeah.
It looked pretty intimidating, the size of it, because it was what, like a 21.
20-foot cube van.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was big. It was a big truck.
But it was pretty easy to drive. It was
Yeah.
nice, actually. It was
That's
fun.
the other thing that makes you a hoser if you got a truck.
Yep.
I don't have a real truck. I have a Nissan Frontier.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even mine. It's my dad's.
Yeah. That's like, I think that's the perfect blend of hoser that we are. We
Yeah.
got a truck, we got some nice vehicles, but it's our dad's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, can you be a real hoser if you're living in downtown Toronto?
Yeah.
Like, even if you came from rural. We're like the inverse of that character from Corner Gas that moved from Toronto to work at the diner, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's always like this thing. When I was still living out in the country, the only neighbors that we had that were within like 5 kilometers of us were these 3 teenage boys, and they were our really good friends, my brother and I's good friends. And they would always call us for the first like 2 or 3 years that we were living there. They'd call us Cityots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Cityot term. And just because we'd get there and we wouldn't know how to kindle a fire, we wouldn't know how to set one up, we wouldn't even know how to really cut the grass properly. But we were only like 4 or 5, you know what I mean? We were so young, but
Yeah.
the expectation of knowledge out there in terms of labor work is really emphasized. Like, you got to know what you're doing.
Well, I think part of that is carried over from the parents, even if you're in the suburbs, though.
Yeah.
Because when I was growing up, we were in the suburbs. This was before we lived on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like that family. Like, my parents referred to us as that family because we had like a boat in the driveway. We had dirt bikes in the garage, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Every spring, we'd go outside and we'd seafoam all the motors, you know. So people that don't know, seafoam is like a thing you put in the gasoline, but you also spray it in the intake. And it cleans all the gunk off the valve train. I think we should have an episode about cars because I can talk about that for like 6 hours.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
anyways,
yeah.
TLDR is that it looks like someone just ripped a fat cloud on their jewel or something like that. Like, it's just like, it looks like the fire. Someone should call the fire department because the smoke is just incredible.
Yeah.
And we've got the boat motor going with the little headphones that fill it with water so it keeps itself cool. And we've got all the dirt bikes. We're running them all at the same time so we get all the smoke out of the way as soon as possible. Like, but it's just like stuff like that farm people know. Like, nobody else on our block did that, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Or like, we reshingled our own roof, you know, we tiled our own bathroom, we did our own basement. Like,
Yeah. That's the thing too, like, if you can't, kind of a saying, I guess, that is very consistent out there in parts of the country like that. If you can't do it yourself, like, you do everything possible before you get to that point.
yeah.
Absolutely every option or every plausible way you could fix something or build something, you do
Yeah.
it yourself first.
Yeah.
Before you bring any second or third party in, for sure.
Or no, but you call your buddy, you know?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's the
I
other
should
thing
say
too.
corporate third party.
Is so my dad recently got a new tractor. And new is a relative term because it's a 1952 Ford 8N. And he got it by trading some labor and a case of beer to a buddy of his. So he went and the buddy had a car hauler trailer that needed new wood. So my dad went and redid all the wood on it because it had all rotten.
Perfect.
And gave him a case of beer and some moonshine. That's another topic we'll get into later,
Yeah.
I think. This is just a teaser
Yeah,
trailer
yeah.
episode.
We're touching on little things that
Yeah.
we'll elaborate on more.
But he pulled this tractor out of the bush and got it running. But like the whole, you help a buddy out for a case of beer mentality,
Yeah, that's something that actually is very relatable to Toronto, and I find a lot of people that we hang out with personally.
Oh, that's just because we're broke.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But also like that one for one, and the notion that like it all comes out in the wash. Like you help a friend that's going to help you back. Like you don't have to
Yeah.
be on them after you do them a favor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't need a favor after you've done someone a favor immediately. It's like money for you and me, specifically. Like I don't like if you buy me lunch, I know you're not going to be hounding me for the
Yeah.
next 5 minutes as soon as you purchase it for me to pay
Yeah.
you back. Like it's going to come back, and
Yeah.
and vice versa. But with everybody else here, and I guess it's reasonably so, like everyone I find in Toronto is very, very untrustworthy in terms of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also on the flip side, very anxious and kind of a pain when it's on the other, like when it's on their end, when they've paid for something and they want money from somebody else.
Yeah,
But
for
also
sure.
vice versa. Yeah. My first introduction from leaving the farm back into the city it's a pretty good story. So we get to Beacon Hill, which is where Aidan and I's high school was located, and that's where I lived.
CB represent.
Yeah, Colonel by Cougars.
Shout out Cameron
Yeah,
Baird.
Cougar Vision. I don't know if you guys can see that. So, my family's first morning at our new house in the city, we had a Irish Wolfhound. And for those of you that don't know, Irish Wolfhounds are the largest dog breed on earth. In medieval times, they were bred specifically to protect kings and royalty, and hunt packs of wolves, and to jump men off of horses. So they are very, very large, fast, and powerful animals. Largest dog breed on the planet. But they're so sweet. So first day that we're back in the city, we go to a park at about 6, 7 a.m. with our wolfhound. His name was Walter. He's beautiful. We get there, and there are these 3 elderly people standing with their little tiny chihuahuas. And they're like 2 of them are holding their dogs, and then the third one is just kind of letting it run around. And as we turn the corner, like over the hedge, and we are facing the open park, Walter's ears just shoot up, and he's looking around like, what's going on? And we're like, oh, that's kind of strange, because we thought he was like reacting to the other dogs. He wasn't reacting to any dog. There was a live 40-pound, I assume, turkey. The thing was huge, man. It was massive. A turkey just standing in the park, just all alone, which is very uncommon for turkeys, as you know. Walter,
As we all know.
as all the hosers know,
Yes.
Walter immediately jumps up almost on his 2 back legs and lunges forward, and he starts galloping. This is another thing too. These dogs can get to like 6'5", almost 7 feet on 2 legs. They're very, very large. So he's galloping towards this turkey, and these 3 elderly city people are just staring with their eyes wide like a deer in the headlights. And Walter just immediately books it over and grabs that turkey by the neck and starts ripping it to shreds and flinging it back and forth. Feathers are flying everywhere, dropping like confetti and snow. And these old elderlies are just standing there with their white hair and their white little dogs, and they are freaking out, just shivering, screaming, "Oh my God!" And I assumed that they thought it was another dog or another urbanized animal, but it was just a example of pure natural experience, you know what I mean? But these people freaked out, man. It was crazy, and rightfully so. Like, it was a pretty gory scene, honestly. And then my mom picks up the turkey by the legs, examines it. Oh no, we can't eat this. It's pretty mangled. Just tosses it in the garbage can at the park. That was our introduction to the city.
Oh, that's that's like Beverly Hillbillies there.
We were known in the neighborhood within 5 minutes after that.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ.
How did you find the transition from, because I don't think I was able, I lived in the city in Beacon Hill for 3 years before I moved to the country, so I didn't really get that contrast of city life and then country life, because I was just mainly getting into adolescence. But how did you find the transition from city to country?
From city to country, or
Yeah.
country to city?
City to country, like moving to the farm.
I Okay, the biggest thing with the farm is the internet connection.
Yeah.
That's brutal. And my dad is too cheap to pay for cable. So there's never anything to do unless you're outside.
Right.
But in terms of moving from the suburbs, not the city, to the farm, it wasn't that bad. Like, because when we were in the suburbs, like I took the bus to school and I took the bus back, but the bus service was so bad that like anywhere else I got driven, you know. Uh, if anything, moving to the farm just meant you could dirt bike whenever you wanted to, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, I really enjoyed moving to the farm. It was moving to the city like after high school that was
Yeah.
like the weirdest thing, right?
Right.
Because I had a car in high school, so I went from having a car to having to use public transit, which I'd never really used before. And then there was also like lines for things, crowds for things, having to carry your groceries. You know, like I remember the first time I went grocery shopping at that Metro right here before going into Pittman. I like filled a cart full of stuff. I went and I paid for it, and then I was just like, "Oh yeah,
You got to carry all
you got
this
to
back.
carry all. How do I get this back into my apartment?" So it's just like it's a lifestyle change, you know. Like you gotta,
Well, I find the adjustment period is almost like never ending.
yeah,
Because there's always going to be something that doesn't really click the same way that it would living back out there. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah. You know, I had a very similar experience with the groceries specifically. Like going to Metro down on Front Street, like I loaded up a full cart, you know, because assuming that I'd have a vehicle to drive it back. Then as soon as I get out, yeah, like you realize you got to carry this freaking massive amount of weight
Yeah.
all the way back home.
But I had like probably 10 cans of juice concentrate, like chili and beans, and I had
3 bags of milk.
3 bags of milk, and it's just like, oh man,
Yeah.
brutal.
Would you say that another definition of a hoser is drinking black coffee?
No, just Timmy's.
Just Timmy's. Perfect.
Or you know what? McDonald's too.
Fun fact about that, actually, for those of you that do not know, and I apologize if I botched this. I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is right. Tim Hortons' old brewing recipe for their coffee beans was purchased decades ago by McDonald's once Tim Hortons got a new recipe for brewing their coffee. So McDonald's.
I'm gonna need this cited.
No.
MLA.
I will give it to you, and I'll post it to the Twitch stream and on Spirit Live if we have
Okay.
to. So McDonald's purchased Tim Hortons' old recipe for brewing, and then Tim Hortons got a new refined version. So if you want to drink old Tim Hortons coffee, if you're above the ages of 42, I'd say, and you want decades old coffee, go to McDonald's, get your coffee. That's old Tim Hortons coffee.
Or if you want decades old Tim Hortons coffee, go to Tim Hortons because it's boom, roasted.
Roast.
No,
we
but
need to get a
okay.
soundbite for that.
Yeah, I think towards the end of the episode here, I'm starting to calm down. I was a little bit frazzled because
Me too.
our iMedia Pix wasn't working and we couldn't stream
Yeah.
to YouTube.
It was stressful.
Oh, geez. But I have remembered the actual definition of a hoser. All right. You
Okay.
ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready. Shoot me.
So back in the day, your favorite place on earth, the ODR, the
Yeah.
outdoor rink,
Mm-hmm.
or even just someone's backyard, someone would have to go and get the hose and spray down the area to make it nice and wet so the ice would dry and be smooth for the next time that they wanted to play hacky.
That is perfect.
So the hoser is the guy with the hose.
we need to get some hoses.
Yeah. Well,
We need to get some hosers.
yeah.
No, man. That's. See, I thought it was more of like a general description of like a Canadian, like country kid. I didn't know there was like a specific
No,
actual
that's
story from
specifically
that.
what it is,
That's
yeah.
wicked.
But I mean, plaid flannel, red green show,
Yeah, beaver
quarter
hats,
gas, beaver hats.
Yeah. beaver tails.
Nah, that's more city slicker.
Beaver tails are delicious though.
Yeah, they're good.
I'd say they're kind of like a
You
country
can only
snack.
get them like downtown though.
Yeah, but when you go to Killaloe, the Killaloe Sunrise is the original beaver tail. Killaloe is where
It was the one in Ottawa was the original.
No, the Killaloe, where my cottage is about 3 hours from here, 3 hours north of here, northeast, I'd say. Killaloe Sunrise is the first ever and the original actual beaver tail, and Killaloe is the town that it was founded in. The original beaver tail stand is still there in the town of Killaloe. It's awesome.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they serve poutine with it. They serve a bunch of stuff at that specific one. But I
Okay.
know that most of the beaver tails in like the cities and in Ottawa and stuff like that, and Toronto.
Yeah.
Are there ones in Toronto?
I don't know. I haven't seen one. I mean, we live downtown. You think it'd be near us?
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a winter thing. Like maybe they set it up at Nathan Phillips Square for
Or
the
yeah,
skating. You
maybe
know.
Dundas or something.
Oh, we
That's
gotta go
actually a good
skating this
idea.
year, bud.
Yeah, 100%, dude.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Did you? I don't think I've ever asked you this. Did you play competitive when you were younger? Or did you play in a league?
I played in the Cumberland League.
Right. Yeah.
When I was like 7 and 8.
Gotcha.
I was like more into skiing though. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just never really got the whole team sports thing. That makes me a not like I'm a fake hoser. I'm a foser.
No, but
I'm a poser.
that's
Boom,
we're
roasted.
just coining terms here,
Yeah.
man. No, but that's one of the beauties about participating in individual sports is it's all on you. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people like it more when they're in 100% like control of what they're doing, rather than leaving it up to other people to kind of screw you over or mess you up in a way or lose the game, so to speak.
Yeah, and like just even at that age, every little kid thinks he's going to be the next Sidney Crosby, you know? Like
And the parents think that
and
too.
the parents think
Yeah.
that too. So when you're open, you know, near the net,
Mm-hmm.
you know, this little turd just skates right past you with the puck because he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get a hat trick today," and he hasn't made a single shot on net. You know?
Yeah. That's another notion of like over competitiveness getting in the way of participation in teamwork, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think it gets better once you get into middle school and high school. I think it was at the age that I was at where these, and I was in like class C or something like that. Like
Yeah.
I was not a good player. I was not in a good league,
Right.
but still,
Did you love it though?
no.
No?
Just mainly because the other kids. Like I liked playing it, but the other kids were so
Yeah.
yeah.
Just made it bad for you.
Yeah.
That sucks, man. Like I found like I was really, really fortunate in
And you can all see the fupa.
hey,
in
that's going away. Guys,
Yeah.
also you haven't seen Aidan before, I assume, but he has been looking great and he's been working out hard and he's been losing weight and he's doing very, very well. It's like a sobering October.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the month. Yeah, my experience, like I was very fortunate to have a group of kids that I grew up with in the city before I left to the farm that I played hockey with. So like the kids that I played hockey with weren't kids that I'd never met before. I was fortunate to be able to play with all kids that I knew already. And like those were the really, really, really good friends of mine that I've grown up with for my entire life. And I value them dearly. But it was just really nice to be able to play hockey and do all these team sports with them, because after the game, you'd go to Timmy's with everybody and you'd show your Timmy's jersey and you'd get your free box of Timbits and then an orange juice, or you'd go to a nice little breakfast diner in the morning after the game, after like a 7 a.m. practice, and it was great, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. For Canadians, hockey is such a, I want to call it like, it's a beautiful privilege, but sometimes it's a burden. There's a lot of kids and families I find that aren't able to afford. Like, do you remember how much your equipment cost?
Dude, it was so
It's
expensive.
insane.
And we always bought it at Play It Again Sports too, right?
Yep.
But it was still so expensive. That's why it's only little white boys that play. I'm
Right.
sorry, I don't want to get into that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's there is a very specific ethnic margin that is most able to play hockey financially and socially.
Yeah.
And it's pretty sad to see. And coming from sport media and RTA, we talk a lot about, and sociology of sport. My midterm is today. We talk a lot about the contrasting effects between communities that are inclined to play specific sports in regards to other communities that are more financially inclined to play other sports, and thus the reasoning for specific ethnicities being dominant in different competitive sports, like football, for instance, versus hockey.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That sucks, dude. Well, you know what? This winter, we're going to revert all that. We're going to get the blades on. We're going to tie them up nice and tight, get the freaking sticks and the pucks going. We're going to have a good time, man.
Oh, you know how my dad's a hoser?
Yeah, how?
So when we were in the suburbs, I've been like the same size, this size, foot size, height since grade 7, right?
And all of his brothers are.
yeah, and all my
Yeah.
brothers same height as me too. We're like triplets. It's kind of freaky.
It's awesome.
It's like something from The Shining.
We will have them in, I hope,
Yeah.
before the end of the year
We
for
can do
the
like
show.
a Skype call with them or
Yeah,
something
that'd be
too.
sweet. They're awesome.
But our neighbor was the manager at the local Canadian Tire, and he had these super nice skates, and I think he gave them to us for Christmas or something like that. And they're my skates, you know.
Yeah.
And every time I went to use them, I noticed that they had been worn more and more and more, until eventually, in my like hockey skate, ski bag, like winter sports bag, were just my dad's old skates, like from the 80s or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So the skates that I have now are like his old ones from the 80s, and the ones he's wearing are like mine.
But that's the best though, because if you were to have like new skates, those would be so stiff, and we know you get blisters on your feet. New skates would suck.
Why do we
for the
know
blisters,
that?
Because you and I know that.
Yeah,
the listeners
okay.
don't know it. We'll talk about that story
Sure.
maybe next week when we have more time.
Yeah.
But yeah, long story short, Aidan
let's
has some scar tissue on his
gross
feet.
everyone out.
Yeah. No, but man, that's the thing. With those brand new skates, it's probably good that you have your dad's old ones. It'll be nice for your ankles to get back into it,
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited, man. It's going to be a good winter. Hopefully, it's been getting cold, though. Like, recently. It's hot as heck in this room. But it's been getting colder.
Yeah, it's about 6 million degrees in here.
Yeah. I think yesterday was hotter, though, than today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the other thing. If you're a hoser, you like cold weather.
Yes.
We drive everywhere with the AC absolutely blasted.
Yes.
And you gave Glenn, the Filipino guy from work, a ride somewhere. And
First thing he says.
Turn off the AC. He just like snaps, like grabs the knob, turns it off, like whoosh.
Too cold.
Yeah.
Too cold, he said.
Yeah.
And I don't even feel it or notice it at that point. I only notice it if it's not turned on, or like if it's at
like
4
either of us
instead of
gets
5.
in the van, and if it's not like literally on 5 and like cranked to the cold,
It doesn't
both
matter.
of us
Like
just like
half the time, it doesn't matter like what we're doing. As soon as we get into the van, we're out of breath and just hot, and we need that AC cranked to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh. Yeah. How do you feel? Do you like? I love like people watching. Everybody's coming and going.
I don't know. I'm thinking
nice.
next week you gotta sit over there.
Yeah, well, for camera angles too, I think. Yeah.
For camera angles, because we got the YouTube live hoser on YouTube, because Twitch this week, unfortunately, but we're gonna put it on YouTube after. So
yeah, there's been some. Come to Ryerson, everybody. It's a great school. I always try to advocate.
there's people walking by.
Yeah, campus tours, everybody.
Oh, they're so annoying. You have to pass them.
Did you ever do a campus tour before you came for any university that you applied to?
Yeah, I did for Ryerson, but like being in Ottawa, you just spend so much time at Carleton. Like I did those EMCP programs. I did a hockey camp there.
Yeah.
I was in the IB program, and all of our tests, like our exams, were at Carleton.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really need to do a. Oh, that was slick. We didn't really need to do a campus tour.
Yeah. Because I did my first year at Carleton, and like when I first got there, I was like overwhelmed with how big the campus was. But I had a lot of friends that had done what you did, in terms of like going to the hockey camps and being on that campus a lot. So it was it was a pretty easy transition because they would just show me where everything was, But it's a big campus. It's on an island, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, Ryerson's a pretty dinky campus. I mean, not trying to talk smack or anything, but it's small.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're down to our last minute here, buddy.
Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to Hoser.
Yes.
We really appreciate it, and thank you for bearing with us through some of the little hiccups that we've been going through.
Problems.
Yeah, for the first show.
I have to enter your password to place. I can just do.
I was gonna say it to you, but I don't want to say it on the air. I don't think we're at that relationship yet, audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe sometime soon.
Okay. I hit.
Thanks so much, everybody. We will see you soon. Have a good reading week.
Fridays at 10 a.m. YouTube.com/hoser next week, hopefully. And we hope you enjoyed your time with us.
Yeah. Thanks so much, everybody. Safe travels this week, and have a good time off.
Shout out Matt Cercelli. Shout out Eunice Young. Shout out Hayden Sewell. Shout out Steve Buscemi. Shout out Cameron Baird.
All of our favorite idols.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.